You're watching News 10 at 5.
A day of sports drama and development. Sources say the Sacramento Kings are going to be sold to Seattle. And for the first time ever, it appears the Kings really are for sale. It started as an unsubstantiated tweet last night.
That didn't last long before it grew into a much bigger story, with credible sports reporters saying that our Sacramento Kings are very close to a deal that would sell the team to a group of investors and move the team to Seattle. The owners have said anything about the possible sale until today. Nick is in Vegas tonight with details of his exclusive conversation with George Maloof.
Well, boy, was George surprised to see me here in Las Vegas, and as he was walking back to his office, he could not get away from me fast enough. But what he did say is key. I told him while Yahoo Sports was reporting that a deal is almost done, and he simply said no.
Early this morning, the NBA, the Maloofs, and the new ownership group in Seattle, all three confirming that an executed purchase and sale agreement for the transfer of a controlling interest in the Kings from the Maloof family to that investor group in Seattle led by Chris Hansen had been completed. What this basically means is the Maloofs have sold their stake plus about 65%, or total about 65% of the Kings, to that new group.
There's a lot of uncertainty, as we all know. But the one thing that we do know is the love affair between this team and this city.
It is one of the best documented fan bases in the country, whether it be movies, articles, or the growing popularity on social media. Sacramento's Here We Stay movement is here to stay until they get their way.
What you're going to see tonight is the epitome of what being a Sacramento Kings fan is all about.
Carmichael Dave is probably the best known face of the Here We Stay movement. These are the unsung heroes. There are 6 of you here, but this movement is so much bigger than the 6 of you. Were you surprised that it took off the way that it has?
Not at all. I mean, Sacramento's been passionate about the Kings since their inception in 1985.
The Kings are the only thing that Sacramento has. Like, we don't have a bunch of teams like Seattle. This is ours.
Now the fans are punching back, focusing on getting their message to the NBA and Commissioner Stern.
I think I'd remind him of something he said several years back, that Sacramento is the ideal small market of the NBA. This is our championship. This is our time to finally win a championship as a fan base.
And for those people in the arena, those people who have the families, who have the kids.
Losing this team, I don't know where we'd go from there, and I think that's why a lot of us don't even talk about it. It's just not an option. This is the part of the movie where the good guys win in the end. It's not a Shakespearean tragedy.
Well, if we learned anything during All-Star Weekend here in Houston, we realized that every single person, including many of the owners, are talking about this Sac to Seattle possibility. But of all of them, Mayor Kevin Johnson, of course, running around doing what he can. And then you've got the commissioner recognizing that this is going to be a lot more than an economic decision. All-Star Weekend in Houston is the pride and joy of the NBA, where the league turns a city into a weekend-long festival. But this year in Houston, no activity or action on the court could overshadow the biggest conversation of them all.
So it says sacked Seattle, because I knew I would forget. I'm repressing it.
In his last All-Star press conference, outgoing Commissioner David Stern said despite the legal obstacles, he expects this Sacramento or Seattle decision to be made by the Board of Governors in April, which will happen inside of this New York City hotel.
I said, let me be perfectly crystal clear. It is not going to be this team.
The mayor has officially announced the wealthy investors set on keeping the Kings here. We've got a buyer, a builder, and now it's time for the bid.
I am proud to announce that tomorrow, the Mark Mastroff team will submit a bid to the NBA and the Maloofs to keep our team in Sacramento.
Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson said that he would deliver, and tonight it looks like he really did.
Tomorrow, one of his whales will put in an offer to buy the Kings. The other will begin the process of changing downtown Sacramento forever.
Tonight's Warriors versus Rockets game meant absolutely nothing to Sacramento fans.
It needs to be increased by dollar amounts.
But what happened off the court is the equivalent of Game 7 in the playoffs. NBA Commissioner David Stern was in Oakland today before the Golden State Warriors game. He told reporters Sacramento's current offer to buy the Kings isn't good enough.
But it is not quite there in terms of a comparison to the Seattle bid.
What he's saying is Mark Mastroff didn't offer enough cash, but he quickly added,
"It's my expectation that it probably will be, but it needs a little work."
Stern is a man who chooses his words very carefully, doesn't he?
Yes. Tonight could be viewed as a good message. I mean, the fact that he began his press conference in Oakland talking about the Kings is kind of a bad sign when he says the money's just not there. But the fact that he is saying this now as opposed to letting it get to April to the Board of Governors and then saying, I'm sorry, your bid just wasn't there. He is basically hand-holding Sacramento now and saying, guys, this is what you need to do to make this work.
For the first time, the Kings' new lead investor is now telling us why Sacramento and why now. News 10's Nick Monticelli, the only local television reporter to go one-on-one tonight with Vivek Ranadive.
well, as you might know, Vivek Ranadive is a minority owner of the Golden State Warriors. We caught up with him inside of Oracle Arena before they tipped off against the Lakers. And I learned two things in our exclusive interview. Number one, he's a very humble man. And number two, he has some very big ideas. Did it take any convincing to get you on board?
Well, I'm a huge Warriors fan. I'm still the vice chairman of the Warriors, and as I said, I need the Sacramento fans to give me a free pass on that.
We'll let you go just tonight, maybe Wednesday night too.
Yeah, but no, but I have been watching Sacramento for many years.
He's made his billions in software, and now he wants to reinvest it in the Sacramento Kings. Vivek Ranadive sat courtside watching his current NBA team, but he's eager to go purple.
Every now and then you have an opportunity that's bigger than yourself. And the opportunity to keep the Kings in Sacramento, when the mayor called me and asked me about it, I couldn't possibly say no.
The fate of the Kings will be decided next month, and today News 10's Brian May went one-on-one with Mayor Johnson. He joins us live from the newsroom now. Brian?
Yeah, Kevin Johnson told me point blank, Dale, being mayor at this time in the city's history is a bit overwhelming at times, but that said, he said he wouldn't want anyone else to be in his position right now, and he is more than ready to go to New York and finally put an end to this long, long story.
Have you had an aha moment where you said, I got this?
6 days before one of the biggest presentations of his career, Kevin Johnson sits in the mayor's library at City Hall, still doing what he has been doing nonstop for what seems like forever, telling anyone who will listen why the Kings should stay in Sacramento.
I think that if a city like Sacramento does everything that was expected of it to do, why would you not side with the home team in this case? Tie goes to the runner.
The mayor is finalizing his plans to go before a select group of NBA owners in this New York hotel next week. He needs 8 votes out of the 30 to keep the team here.
You need 8 votes. Do you have a war room board? Are you keeping track? Do you know whose votes you have?
I went to Berkeley. I know how to count.
Sacramento puts on a full court press. The mayor, the state senate president, and billionaire investors pitch their plan to keep the Kings.
We had an A team who brought their A game.
It was also a dream team, and that team had been working long and hard for this day when they could finally unveil their plans to a committee of NBA owners.
And they seemed especially excited after their meeting. It's now in the hands of the NBA deciders, but that decision could be delayed. And News 10's Brian May and Nick Monticelli kick off our coverage live from New York City.
Christina, we'll get to why that decision could be delayed in just a moment, but more importantly, it has been a very, very hectic day here in New York City. It kind of ended with the culmination of press conferences back to back to back, and I can tell you, Sacramento's was the most enthusiastic of them all. Sacramento! The Sacramento contingency was loud and proud in New York City. Dozens of Kings fans lining the sidewalk, and the Playing Twin RV made a stop in front of the St. Regis Hotel.
Mr. Mayor, Tim Frank.
But the real story comes from behind closed doors. Mayor Kevin Johnson arrived this afternoon, along with Senator Darrell Steinberg, Mark Mastroff, and Vivek Ranadive.
What an amazing performance. Unbelievable.
My thanks, of course, and kudos go to the mayor. Yep, you got it.
Their presentation to the NBA Super Committee lasted a little more than an hour, and as you can see from this Twitter picture, they had all the key players, including Ron Burkle. Afterwards, Johnson and friends told reporters it went very, very well.
But what we did was try to make their decision a little bit easier. Number one, does this team deserve to stay in Sacramento? Absolutely. Here's why. And has our city gone above and beyond what was asked of it? And the answer is yes.
But there is a little problem. What we've been saying and hoping for all along might not come true. Commissioner David Stern says the owners have so many questions, a decision might come later than their Board of Governors meetings on the 18th and 19th.
They're pushing us, and I guess all that we want to say about that is that we're doing it as fast as we collectively can together.
We're pushing up against the practicality of a need to operate a franchise and prepare for next season.
News 10's Nick Monticelli, Brian May, and Dan Elliott caught up today with George Maloof. They join us live tonight in New York City with an interview you'll only see right here on News 10. Good work today, guys.
Oh, thanks, Dale. So we are standing outside of the St. Regis Hotel where the Board of Governors meetings for the NBA is just wrapping up now, the general session of that. Nobody's really saying anything. We've talked to a couple owners saying, yeah, no comment, we're wrapping up, yada, yada, yada. But we did catch up with George Maloof, who said no comment on almost every question we had. He would not talk about the match and whether or not Sacramento's bid is up there, but he would talk about the process a little bit and how he expects to have this wrapped up towards the beginning of May.
I think everybody's been fair and worked real hard. Everybody's trying.
Are you frustrated that it's taking this long?
No, I mean, it's part of the process, you know. But we'd like for it to move along a little faster, but it's part of the process.
Well, thanks, guys, and good evening from New York. When we booked this trip about a month ago, we did so with the belief that today would finally be the day we would get the answer on where the Kings would be playing. But when I was here 2 weeks ago, the commissioner made it clear that vote won't happen for another 3 weeks. Today, at his Board of Governors press conference, I had a chance to ask Commissioner Stern why the delay.
Is this an issue of you have owners who haven't decided yet, or is it an issue of you want to get your votes more uniform and make this more close to a unanimous vote?
No, the latter would not be accurate at all. There's no attempt to get any unanimity. There's only an attempt to get answers to any possible question that various owners have.
You guys want to make some noise? We've got some good-looking Kings fans over there.
All right. Cheers like that are happening around Sacramento right now. And we got our panel of experts because, word came down from the NBA. We are keeping our Kings, Brian May.
Yeah, and I know we don't listen to orders very well sometimes because I know Mayor Kevin Johnson told us not really to celebrate, but this is a chance for us to celebrate, at least for the time being. We'll get to the final vote later on, but we are joined by a panel of experts and a studio audience here in the studio. And let me read the reason kind of why we're here today. This is the statement, the NBA confirming today's vote with the press release that we got this afternoon, and it reads in part, the NBA announces today that the league's relocation committee has unanimously recommended that the NBA Board of Governors deny the application of the Sacramento Kings to relocate to Seattle. The board will convene during the week of May 13th to vote on this matter. Again, as the mayor said earlier today, it's not over, but it's very close to being over at this point in time.
What has happened here is huge, phenomenal news for Sacramento. The Board of Governors voting that the relocation to Seattle is not going to happen. The Kings will stay in Sacramento. We've got some video to show you just to give you an idea of what's going on here. Again, they voted down the relocation. So next is whether or not the Maloofs will sell to Vivek Ranadive. David Stern told us he believes that sale could happen in 24 to 48 hours. I asked Vivek point blank, is that realistic? What's the timeline now? The commissioner said he was hoping to get everything done within 24 to 48 hours. Is that reasonable?
Our lawyers have been talking for some time, and we believe that we can get this done very quickly.
Have you begun your dialogue with the Maloofs?
Well, our lawyer and the Maloofs lawyers have actually been talking over the last few weeks.
Give us an idea of what happens next.
I think that we sit down with Chris, speak to Chris, who put his heart and soul into this, and we'll go from there.
So, are you ready and willing to work with Vivek and his team?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've been working with his team.
All right.
So,
thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
And the timeline that we're hearing now, at least set forth by the NBA, is extremely quick, much quicker than I think you and I thought it would be. David Stern said it could happen within 24 to 48 hours. Vivek Ranadive saying the lawyers have already been talking, and it should be worth pointing out, and I know those of you who were able to see Kevin Johnson's press conference online, we talked to George Maloof last night. He said our family never said we would not work with Sacramento, and Kevin Johnson saying the same thing. I don't know where that came out. He said our attorneys have been talking with them throughout this entire process. That really was never an issue or even a question.
I'd like to say we did it. We won. We did what no one said we could do. It's a great day for Sacramento. Long live the Kings.
Kevin Johnson made it official in a deal that he says is simply going to transform the city of Sacramento. His dream team of big investors bought the Sacramento Kings.
Led by billionaire Vivek Ranadive, the deal will bring thousands of jobs to our area and revitalize the city's downtown core. News 10's Nick Monticelli kicks off our team coverage from the newsroom.
Yeah, it does not get more done than this. The deal signed, sealed, and delivered, as Mayor Kevin Johnson would put it, even playing that Stevie Wonder song at the press conference today. It gives the Maloofs $347 million, a total evaluation of $535 million for the Sacramento Kings. So now they need to build the arena and get the fans inside.
Repeat after me. We did it.
A standing room only crowd with a line out of City Hall for one of the biggest announcements in Sacramento's history.
This community that we know and love will never be the same.
Today, Mayor Kevin Johnson making it official, but before the rally, he broke the news on News 10 Good Morning.
I'm trying to act calm because I'm really excited.
No, let it out. Go for it.
I'm really excited. Sacramento always, came up a little short when it came to big things. And this is one that we didn't come up short.
When you look out in the crowd, are you feeling the love at this point? Do you realize what you've done for this city?
No, this city is amazing, and without question, it's got the best fans in the country, bar none. And they have the biggest hearts, the most passion, and I'm just humbled by what I see here today.
What was it that made you want to get involved and step in?
Well, initially, I just felt that this was something that I had to do. I owed everything to the state of California, and I owed everything to this country.
2 years ago, the city did the same thing. They threw a rally. At the time, they estimated about 7,500 here in attendance. Tonight, more than double that to, Christina, as you say, usher in a new era.
Hello, Sacramento.
Vivek Ranadive introduced himself to Sacramento and they to him. And just like that, the courtship was over and the marriage has begun.
These words were heard from New York to New Delhi. They were heard from Dallas to Dubai. And we are here to stay for at least another 35 years.
On an absolutely picture-perfect night in Northern California, an estimated crowd of over 15,000 packing Cesar Chavez Park to hear C-Web.
Without this moment, none of the other moments matter.
KJ.
This is truly a defining moment in the history of the city of Sacramento, and you are a part of that history.
And to celebrate the fact that this is home for the Sacramento Kings. You're a rock star now. What is it like for Vivek Ranadive to walk around Sacramento these last few days?
It's humbling. I don't deserve that. It's really the fans who made all of this happen.
In Sacramento, the general consensus is that three men helped save the Kings: Vivek Ranadive, Kevin Johnson, and NBA Commissioner David Stern. Did you think the Kings would be moving to Seattle?
Initially, I did.
The past several years have been a roller coaster of handshake agreements and non-binding term sheets spanning from Anaheim to Virginia Beach. When Seattle entered the picture, many, including the commish, thought Sacramento's time was up. It was a struggle to keep the Kings in Sacramento. Was it not?
I would say it was. There was no ownership group that would step up in Sacramento, and there was no real building plan on the books. and I thought it was over.
But then, as Stern says, Mayor Kevin Johnson entered on his white horse and changed the game. He takes no credit for keeping the Kings, even after we pointed out all he had done, including that press conference at Oracle Arena, when he announced Sacramento needed to up the offer to match Seattle.
And that signified to all of us in Sacramento that you were essentially holding Sacramento's hand and saying, this is how you need to succeed. Why were you willing to help Sacramento?
Actually, I thought I was giving them a kick in the behind. I wasn't holding their hand at all.
Stern did give us a little insight into how the other owners handled the Sacramento versus Seattle situation, saying many of them were willing to give Sacramento a chance. After all, Mayor Johnson made good on the ticket sales and corporate sponsorship promises he made that kept the team from moving to Anaheim.
And I think the owners were more inclined to accept that because they had seen him deliver once before.
Was there ever a point in your mind over the last 5 or 6 years that you thought that Sacramento would benefit from new ownership?
Yeah, I thought that once ownership decided to move the team, or actually look for new buyers in Sacramento, that begins to tell you that the ownership is, losing some of its passion.
But that is now in the history books with the new Kings era upon us. And with 7 months left, what does the NBA's top dog have to say to Sacramento?
I would just like to thank them for their extraordinary support over the years and thank them for their continuing support, and to tell them that I have no doubt that Sacramento has the ability and capacity under its new ownership to be in the first rank of NBA teams. So buy tickets.
He is a big man. We're talking about the new minority owner, Shaquille O'Neal, and today he was officially announced to the community. News 10 Sports' Brian May was there for the big announcement, and for the first time, we go live to Brian inside the posh News 10 Sports Suite. Thanks for cleaning the place up for us, Brian.
Yeah, not so posh when you see behind the scenes. And yeah, Shaquille O'Neal, that man can certainly command a room. He did spend the better part of today doing interviews and kind of talking up his new team. Shaq, you mentioned the new minority owner of the Sacramento Kings, and he actually began his day right here in the News 10 studios this morning. He could not have been more cordial, posing for pictures and saying hi to everyone.
Well, Shaq is, giving some people a real lift. Governor Jerry Brown and California First Lady Ann Gust Brown were at last night's power dinner, and this picture was tweeted by Mrs. Brown. Yes, that is our First Lady getting a lift from Shaq. And it was no fluke, as our own Kiba Arnold found out this morning.
Yeah. Kiba, I know you're getting married. Yes. Call me, though. I live here now.
You see the look on Vivek's face over his shoulder. And then he gives Kiva the lift. Up she goes. Well, she's a tiny thing, too, so, but Shaq is bigger than life.
Oh, but he makes it look, she can change the light bulbs while she's up there.
She can.
He's a good man to have around.
It looks more like a Hollywood premiere than a season opening game for the NBA. At the throne, new Kings owner Vivek Ranadive.
This is your team, and it's here to stay.
After years of uncertainty, it's only fitting the Kingdom get the royal treatment. Holding court, the new face of the franchise, DeMarcus Cousins.
We want to welcome you to this new era of Kings basketball.
One after another, limos pulled up to screaming fans on the purple carpet. But these aren't your typical Hollywood A-listers making an entrance. In Sacramento, these VIPs are a bigger deal.
It's a crazy night. I mean, Vivek and I were just in the office talking about it, practically crying because so much work we put in to getting here tonight.
Now that is how you kick off a new season and a new, that Saturday Night Live skit, more cowbell. We had lots of cowbell here tonight. We're hearing them right now as fans are screaming out behind us. Oh, they are excited, and why not? Kings win tonight. Yes!
Night out here.
It's like a playoff atmosphere, and what a game. Kings win in dramatic fashion tonight over Denver. You just saw it commercial-free here on News 10, 90-88 over the Denver. So many highlights in this game. We'll be hearing from the sports guys, certainly tonight on News 10 at 11, but wow, what a way to kick off the season.
And there's goosebumps both from the game and the atmosphere. If you were watching News 10 from the beginning of the game, just the fireworks and the love in the building. There was a point where I almost wanted to cry just because you could feel it, and everybody is just so happy to finally have their Kings back in Sacramento permanently.
Oh, celebratory mood all around, and you can see the fans behind us streaming out of the arena now, happy as can be. And once again, I mean, just a thriller from the Kings that last minute, play. Could have gone either way, and the Kings have ended their game so many times just like that. But tonight, celebratory mood indeed.